There is a reason why the turtle case design is so popular. It just looks cool. But beyond the classic looks, the Capt Willard was actually used by military personnel. This is the Capt Willard Homage watch from AddiesDive, model number My-H8. At the time of this video, you can find this watch at Amazon for $99 US. The AddiesDive website has both the strap or the metal bracelet version for $119. So I learned 3 really interesting things during the review of this watch. One, my friend John from John's Watch Joint actually reviewed the Steeldive version of this watch a little while ago, and he thought it was the worst watch he's ever reviewed. 2, AddiesDive and Steeldive, while the 2 different companies, they do share the same supplier. And that is why some of the watches look so similar. And 3, I think this one is key, AddiesDive actually has over 10 years of watchmaking experience. They have been producing watches for other brands, and just recently, they started producing their own brand. So while they are a new company, they do have over 10 years of watchmaking experience. Now, when I contacted AddiesDive to ask about their company, they got back to me right away. And basically what they said was that their company has better attention, quality control, and customer service. And, you know, let's be honest, that is exactly what you expect a company to say. It's kind of the standard corporate market line. But here's the interesting part. While John's Steeldive version had some serious issues, my AddiesDive is, well, quite frankly, impressive. So while you cannot judge a company based on one watch and a handful of interactions, I am really excited to see if this attention to customer service and quality control continues. Now let's get on with the review. Hey everyone, if you like these videos, please do me a favor and consider subscribing to the channel. It'd really help out. The case construction is 316 stainless steel with a diameter coming in at 44 millimeters, not including the crown. On the side, we have a lug-to-lug distance of 47 millimeters with an overall thickness of 13.7. Now, a diameter of 44 millimeters is on the large side, but it is the short lug-to-lug distance that makes it easily wearable on my 7-inch wrist. Even though there is essentially no downturn to the lugs, the underside of the case does have a slight curve to it, but it is pretty much in parallel to the bottom of the caseback. It is really that 47 millimeter lug-to-lug distance that makes this so wearable. There is a brushed finish on the top of the case done in a radial direction, and while it could be a little finer, it is nicely uniform throughout. On the side of the case, we have a high polished finish, and where the top and the side of the case meets, it is smooth to the touch. Even the edges on the bottom of the case have been nicely finished off. Notice the bottom of the case has also been given a brushed finish to it. I have not seen this on a watch before, and that divot area where the crown is, that has been given a high polished finish. This is simply impressive in my opinion. This attention to detail is not only surprising on a watch at this price point, but it makes the watch feel like it's worth more than its asking price. The only area that is even remotely sharp is in between the lugs, and even that is acceptable. I have felt sharper on watches from major watch brands. Moving on to the back of the watch, we have a screw-down case back, which helps this watch achieve its 200 meters of water resistance. The text on the back reads, all stainless steel, automatic movement, NH35, divers 200 meters, and of course, the logo etched into the center. Now I'm gonna guess that some people will be put off by the logo, but personally, I kind of like it here. At this size, it is easy to distinguish the goggles and the underwater spear guns. And the way that it's done with the negative space being etched into the stainless steel, I think it adds a sense of sportiness while also being playful. And inside that case, we have the NH35 automatic movement, and that has 24 joules, beats at 21,600 beats an hour, has a 41-hour power reserve, it does hack, and it does hand wind. Now turning that crown about 55 times will get that power reserve fully wound. In addition to that, this movement is rated at an accuracy of -20 to +40 seconds per day. We have a signed crown at the 4 o'clock position with a knurling pattern on it. Now it is approximately 6 millimeters in width and 5 millimeters in depth, and it does fit nicely between the crown guards. And when I say fits nicely, I mean extremely impressive. Look at the close tolerances here. I can barely slip a piece of paper between the crown and the guards, and yet the crown never rubs against the guards. Now this makes me think back to when AddiesDive told me about their quality control. And at least with this one specific watch, I find those tolerances to be top notch. Continuing on, this is a screw down crown, so you will need to unscrew it before you can hand wind it. To set the time, simply pull it out to the first position, rotating the crown sets the date, and pulling it out to the second position stops the second hand and sets the time. Moving on to the face of the watch. Now, this is an homage watch, so of course that determines the overall look of it. But starting on the outside, we have a unidirectional 120 click stainless steel bezel with a ceramic insert and Arabic numbers at the 10-minute marks. At the starting position, we have a downward pointing triangle, and this does differ from the original in that it does not have a loom pip. Instead, the entire triangle is loomed here, as are all of the Arabic numbers and hash marks. The coin edge bezel provides good grip, however the bezel is a little stiff to rotate, and there is a small amount of back play, but on the plus side it does align nicely. Further in, we have applied metallic indices surrounding the dial. The rectangle indices at the 6 and 9 o'clock positions are wider and longer, giving them a bit of an emphasis. The proportion of those indices differ slightly from the original, and in my opinion, that's 100% fine. I prefer a watch to be inspired rather than a direct copy. At the 12 o'clock position, under the 5-sided indice, we have the AddiesDive logo printed directly on the dial. And at this scale, I find the logo to be not as successful. I would have preferred it if they simply printed the words AddiesDive. Moving down the dial, on the other side of the center post, we find the words automatic and water 200 meter resist, done in an all caps sans serif font. The date window at the 3 o'clock position is printed black on white. And unlike some negative comments I've heard about the Steeldive version, here the numbers are centered in the window. Now my one small gripe here is that the date window could benefit from being marginally larger. While a single digits like a number 8 has plenty of room, once you get into the double digit, it feels a little tight in the window. Granted, the size of the date window is a small nitpick. You see what I did there? Moving on. The dial here is a flat black color, and for a while I thought the intersection of the dial where the indices are was actually elevated. But it is simply an optical illusion created by the white minute track surrounding it. The minute hand here is very nicely sized, meeting up with the edge of the minute track. The running second hand appears to be the exact same length as the minute hand, and has the same stoplight design aesthetic as on the original. The Swiss C3 loom on the watch is visually stunning. I mean, the first time that you see it light up in its two-tone scheme, it looks amazing. While this did pass my everyday loom test, I do wish the hands would have been slightly wider to accommodate more loom. Ironically, there's so much loom going on here that in middle of the night, it makes telling the time a little bit more of an effort. Now for anyone who doesn't know, my everyday loom test consists of wearing a watch, getting an average day's amount of light on it, setting it alongside my bedside table at night, and then seeing if I can read the time at 4 in the morning. Again, this watch did pass, but it did require a little bit more effort. This watch comes with a sapphire crystal with anti-glare blue coating. Now those are words I never thought I would say about a watch in this price point. And I'm still certain I would never say that about a major brand watch at this price point. But that's one of the pros about a micro brand, especially from China. You typically get higher quality specs for the money. As I mentioned, this watch comes with either a metal bracelet or a black strap, and I went for this waffle style strap. It's 20 millimeters wide at the lugs and tapers down to 18 millimeters at the buckle. The buckle has a brushed finish to it, matching the case. However, it is unsigned. The strap itself is soft, flexible, and it looks the part. The waffle pattern has a nice texture feel to it, and it looks sporty. That said, my first reaction to the strap was that it felt thin, and while it's 5 millimeters thick at the case, it does taper down to 2.5 millimeters thick at the buckle. That is a millimeter or two thinner than some of my other straps, but I'm also aware that might be why the strap is actually comfortable, and I do forget that I'm wearing it. Now, one last comment about the strap. On my 7-inch wrist, I wear it on the 6th adjustment hole out of 10. So this strap should accommodate anyone. So let's go over the specs for this watch. You get a sapphire crystal, the NH35 automatic movement. It has a diameter of 44 millimeters, a thickness of 13.7 millimeters, a lug width of 20 millimeters, lug-to-lug distance of 47 millimeters, and finally a 200 meter water resistance. And finally, let's list out the pros and cons. For pros, it is an homage watch, so you get the classic looks of a Capt Willard at a fraction of the price. You get a sapphire crystal, it's very legible, there's a good fit and finish on it, you get 200 meters of water resistance, the loom is impressive, and it does come with the NH35 movement, which does hack and does hand wind. For cons, the bezel, it is slightly stiff to turn. Now, I wanted to list out more cons here, honestly, but it is just hard to come up with more. You could say a lack of originality, but it is an homage watch, and if you're buying this, that is exactly what you're looking for. So my final thoughts on this watch. Now, I am not a collector of homage watches, but I am super impressed with this watch and what you get for the money. Now, I'm curious to check out some of the other watches from AddiesDive, and also to see what they come up with in the future. Okay, my friends, until the next video, remember, buy whatever it is that you love. This is your watch collection after all. I'll see you next time.